So I'm a dancer myself.
Oh, lovely.
I can say this.
I was looking at you and was thinking, because you have such a lovely build that yeah, you look like a dancer.
No, no,
Really.
I'm gonna now tell my mother, Madhuri Dixit ma'am, just said I had great posture. Hello.
Hi.
An absolute honor to speak to the three of you, and congratulations on the Fame game coming on 25th February.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madhuri ma'am, I want to just start with you. You've played such iconic characters over several years, and probably at a time and an era where, in the commercial space at least, female portrayals were restrictive to the prototype good girl. And despite that, I feel like you've made some bold choices even then. If I think about Parinda, or even like recent years when I see Gulab Gang and Ded Ishqiya, you played characters that are morally uplifting and ambiguous as well. So do you think with a character like Anamika and like what gravitated you towards her is that people are also in this time more receptive to characters with more layers and nuance?
Well, it's not just that. I mean, it's something I loved when I heard the script. Sri Rao came to me with the script about, a huge star who is loved by the masses, was seemingly a perfect life, and she suddenly disappears. And everybody's like, where is she? What happened to her? And the question becomes, who is she? And I thought that was a great idea because it's not only something that can happen here, it can happen anywhere in the world. And it's a very, very, very relatable kind of a character. Also because it's a mystery, there's an enigma, but she's also, it's all about your family and her relationships with everyone. And I thought that whole atmosphere that he created and the world that he created was really fascinating. And that's why I agreed to do it.
Right. Sanjay sir, I wanted to say, just as a film fan and being actively watching, especially your roles in the OTT space, it seems like you've had a resurgence of sorts with the kind of roles that you're playing. Does it seem like a breath of fresh air on the kind of work that you're doing versus the leading Hindi hero that you were when you started?
No, absolutely. I enjoyed that phase of playing the leading hero also, and that was a phase of the 90s, and early 2000 where I was doing those kind of roles. And every actor goes through a transition period, and thanks to OTT, the kind of work that I'm being offered and the kind of roles that I've got in recent times. I've been very fortunate to work with some fantastic directors, working with Bijoy and Karishma in this show. Recently, I worked with Amit Kumar. So doing different kind of shows. Recently, I shot a movie with my iPhone in lockdown. It was just not a 15-minute thing. It was, shot for 5 episodes. I met the director after 1 year. I'd not met the cast. So it's a very interesting phase, and you rightfully said, it's a really, really great phase for me. And I feel very, very fortunate that, I always wanted to be in front of the camera, and after 28 years, I am in front of the camera. I just thank God for that.
Yeah, we can't wait for more as well.
Yes.
Manav sir, I have to say, I'm an absolute fanboy. So at one point of time, with your filmography and roles, you just come across as an actor who gravitates towards what the characters bring to the story versus the running time of the characters in the film. I wanted to ask strictly from a craft point of view, or the process point of view. In this, you're playing an actor and you are an actor. So is there a particular leap of faith that you have to take on whatever fictional take that they have of the acting world and the film industry? Or do you have to bring something of your own with the experiences you've had?
I think in the Fame game, there are stories about these people. So they are real people. Manish Khanna is actually a person. So the story is actually when he closes the door and inside his house, what is happening in his life. So if you ask me, the life, actually we are living the same. The way we are dealing with our own family, the way we are dealing with, mothers, daughters, and everyone. So we are living the same life. So it is about the life. It's not strictly about, of course, the aspect is he's a superstar, he's a Bollywood star. This is the one thing, but the main story there is what is his life is, and that is very real, and he's dealing with the same issues we are dealing with, day to day. So, and what I like about Manish Khanna is the way Shri has written his loneliness, with all this fame and whole attention he gets outside his house. In his house, he's absolutely lonely, and I identify with that. And it was amazing, actually. It was like therapeutic to perform Manish Khanna.
Yeah. Madhuri ma'am, I wanted to ask you, of the several interviews that I've seen, a lot of people who have experienced the decade of the 90s also talk about anecdotes of how they would be handed over the dialogues of the day when you land up on set, or like a lot of changes that would happen and you had to improvise right there and then. With processes more streamlined right now, is it more liberating for you to have more prep time for your characters?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it helps because you can stay with your character and you know exactly, you get a bound script. We do readings so that, we're comfortable with each other and we're comfortable with the lines. If there's anything that's, bothering us, we can change it right then, say, hey, can I say this? Or, so everything happens at the pre-production. So once you're on the set, all you got to do is just deliver, and do it well. So there was a time we used to walk in on the set. We didn't know what we were going to say, And the dialogue writer would be scribbling the lines down, and then used to give us pages of dialogues, and we had to just memorize it and say them. So it's much better. It's much more organized, streamlined, and the kind of roles that are also coming in now. There's so many layers to it, and there's so much subtext, like they say, that it's very, very interesting to play these roles. Yeah, it's definitely much better.
And to add to that, I think so. What is really changed, which is really fantastic for all actors, is that right now, then when you sign up a film or a show, you're 90% of the time only doing that. Yeah. So your focus is only on that role. Like when I started, obviously started much before me. You were you're doing 2 to 3 shifts. You were shooting for 6-7 days for one film, playing another character. After 7 days, you're shooting another thing.
But the same day we used to do two different films. Yeah.
So this process, I think so. This is a great change where you are. Like we did a 40-day schedule, so we've covered like 70-80% of the show, and then you come back, you take a break, and again you shoot for the same thing. So you're in character. You are, when you're meeting people, when you're interacting with all the actors, you're just spending time with them. So I think so that really adds. And I think so when you see the quality of films or shows, I think so this one aspect has made a big difference.
It resonates with the quality that's coming out also.
Absolutely.
Off the whim, Manav sir, I just wanted to ask you, I've become a fan of the character roles that you've done, but I've always wondered whether you had a kida of ever being the quintessential Bollywood hero, of wanting to do the song and dance and shebang ever, or the journey that you've had is something that you've envisioned and are very satisfied with as well.
यार हम लोग जब आर्ट फील्ड में आते हैं ना, कोई भी, so because life is very boring. You want to do more, you want to live more, you want to actually, you are very selfish, you want to grab more. So I want to do everything. So whatever comes my way, and I'm on the receiving end, so basically whatever comes my way. But I want to do everything. I don't want to live
so we can wait for that one day also. Madhuri ma'am, Sanjay sir, I wanted to ask you regarding this, on the sort of evolution that you have now with your connection with fans. At least at one point of time, there was a sort of an arm's distance with the audience. There wasn't much access to stars, and then, with various publications and interviews, it was restricted. And now there's almost like a direct contact and a daily update of what stars are doing and what they're saying. So this, I think what the Fame game also successfully does is this perception of what the actors are like versus what their real life is. So what has been your experience of this kind of change? Are you still a fan of the old school charm of keeping that at bay versus now it's so readily available information for the masses?
I think so, both. I think so, 90s also had that own, it's had its own charm, where, there was more intrigue about actors when people used to see. They didn't know anything about the actors when they used to meet, and they used to, in their eyes, you could feel that they're trying to discover you. कि ये तो बैठ के खाना खा रहा है, kind of a thing. And now, whatever anybody does, everybody knows about it. There are pros and cons to both the things, but I think so the 90s also, when I started, it had its own charm. And today also it's got its own, like, pros and cons, it's got its own charm. Yeah. So to choose is very, very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult, and even if you're on Twitter and even if you're doing all the social media, it's up to you how much you actually want to go out there and say, hey, I had a coffee and now I'm doing this or I'm doing that. Or do you want to use it as something you want to convey, something that you're feeling, or you're going to say, hey, this is what you heard, but it's not true, or those kind of things which we can directly talk to your fans and say something to them, and that's the plus point of being on. And it's up to you how much you actually want to be, how active you want to be on it.
I'm a fan of the cooking episodes on YouTube, by the way.
Oh,
Really great.
did you like them?
Madhuri ma'am, I have to, now that I'm here also, I have to ask you, so I'm a dancer myself.
Oh, lovely.
And I wanted to say, I can say
I
this.
was looking at you and was thinking, because you have such a lovely build that you look like a dancer.
No.
Really.
I'm gonna now tell my mother, Madhuri Dixit ma'am, just said I had great posture. But I had to say, ma'am, I can definitely say that the grace and charm that you brought with, especially classical dance with Hindi cinema, is basically not there anymore, and something that we always now revisit your videos and see what you brought to it, and the collaborations you had with Birju Maharaj ji and Saroj Khan ji. I wanted to ask what your take was of whether you feel that the preservation of classical dance in Hindi cinema is slowly dissipating, and whether you have a particular take on it.
The very, very interesting question. Is so nice to hear a question like this, because even I'm eager to hear the answer.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, because as we go into an era where content is more important than anything else, the kind of films we are making, the small town films, and where classical dancing is not very common. It's not everybody's doing it, and the kind of subjects we are dealing with. But we do have filmmakers who love to, make that, like the Sanjay Leela Bhansali, when they make historicals and then they add their touch of classical music and everything. And that's what I did with Sanjay Leela, Kahe Ched Chere Mohe was in his film. So we do have filmmakers, and when you pick up subjects like that, that's where the classical dancing, music is always there. Classical music will always be a part of Hindi films. But the dancing, where it's pure classical, because most of it is semi-classical, or then it's Western. But pure classical will come only if you deal with subjects like that, which is, I think, for me, because I'm so close to classical dancing, and I've learned that since I was 3 years old, and I'm so... I've absorbed every little thing about it. I think it's very, very important to keep that alive, because that's our culture. That's our history. That's our legacy to the world. And maybe someday we will make something which is so rich with that it reaches out to everyone.
With the Fame Game trailer also, everybody loved the glimpses of you dancing. So, yeah, we're looking forward. Thank you so much. And
Thank you
best of luck
much.
for Fame Game,
Thank you.
25th February for everyone. So, yes.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.